Today, we are diving into a story that proves even Hollywood's biggest stars have to deal with neighbor drama. But when that star is the one and only Jennifer Lawrence, you know the story is going to have a little extra spice. This isn't your typical borrowing a cup of sugar situation. This is the tale of the neighbor who crossed J-Law and learned a very public and very funny lesson. So, picture this. It's the early 2010s. Jennifer Lawrence is skyrocketing to fame. She's Katniss Everdeen in The Hunger Games. She's winning an Oscar for Silver Linings Playbook. She's everywhere. But behind the scenes, she's just trying to live a normal life in her new place. Like anyone moving into a new home, you hope for friendly neighbors, maybe a welcoming wave or a polite nod. What you do want hope for is someone who seems to have a personal mission to make your life difficult. According to Jen herself, who shared this story on The Graham Norton Show, she had a neighbor who was, let's just say, less than thrilled to have her around. This neighbor seemed to have a problem with ... well, everything. Jen would come home from a long day of shooting and there would be complaints. She'd have friends over and more complaints would follow. It was a constant barrage of negativity. It's a situation many of us can relate to. That one neighbor who just seems determined to be a thorn in your side. But here's where the story takes a turn from relatable annoyance to pure Jennifer Lawrence gold. Most of us would grumble, maybe write a passive-aggressive note or just try to avoid them. Not J-Law, she decided to play the long game, and her weapon of choice, a little red ball. This wasn't just any red ball. This was a symbol of rebellion. Jen explained that she was having a party one evening. It wasn't a wild, raging party, just a gathering of friends. But like clockwork, the neighbor complained. Frustrated and a little mischievous, Jen spotted a small red Pilates ball. An idea sparked. She looked at her friends and declared, "Let's do it." What was it? It was a game they invented on the spot, a game of defiance. The goal was simple. Throw the little red ball against the shared wall as many times as possible. It wasn't loud enough to be a genuine noise violation, but it was just persistent enough to be incredibly annoying. It was the perfect petty revenge. They were giggling, having fun, and sending a clear, albeit bouncy message to the neighbor next door. You want to complain about noise? We'll give you something to complain about. This little act of defiance became a running theme. It was her secret weapon against the constant complaints. It's such a classic Jennifer Lawrence move, isn't it? Finding humor and a bit of playful chaos in a frustrating situation, it's what makes her so relatable. She's a global superstar, but at her core, she's still the person who would think, you know what this situation needs? A tiny, annoying ball being thrown against a wall? But the story doesn't end there. The ultimate moment of triumph, the grand finale of this neighborly feud, came during a house party. Now, this wasn't just any party. Jen was throwing a proper get-together with a DJ. She knew her neighbor would be furious. She was mentally preparing for the inevitable angry knock on the door. And then, she saw him, her neighbor, standing in her house at her party. With a drink in his hand, looking like he was having a great time. Jen was stunned. She walked over to him, completely bewildered, and said something along the lines of, "Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm the one you've been complaining about for the past year." You can just imagine the look on his face. He was caught. He had spent all that time making her life difficult, only to show up and enjoy the very hospitality he had been so against. The irony was just too perfect. He apparently got very flustered, mumbled something about his wife making him come, and tried to blend back into the crowd. But for Jen, this was the ultimate victory. It wasn't about being mean or getting revenge in a nasty way. It was about the sheer, hilarious absurdity of the situation. The man who had been her nemesis was now a guest at her party, probably dancing to the music he was ready to complain about just an hour earlier. She had won. Not by being louder or angrier, but by simply living her life and letting the ridiculousness of the situation unfold. This story is so great because it highlights what we love about Jennifer Lawrence. She's unfiltered, she's funny, and she doesn't take herself too seriously. She could have escalated the situation. She could have gotten lawyers involved or started a real ugly neighbor war. But instead, she chose laughter and a little bit of harmless, bouncy ball-based chaos. It's also a fantastic lesson in dealing with difficult people. Sometimes, the best way to handle negativity is to not let it get to you. It's about finding the humor in the frustration and realizing that you can't control how other people act, but you can control your reaction. Jen's reaction was to create a funny story that she can now share with the world, turning a year of annoyance into a few minutes of fantastic entertainment for all of us. Think about it from the neighbor's perspective for a second. He probably thought he was just dealing with some noisy young person. Little did he know he was picking a fight with one of the most beloved and down-to-earth celebrities on the planet. He became a character in the Jennifer Lawrence saga, a footnote in one of her best talk show anecdotes. In a way, he got his own little slice of fame, just probably not in the way he would have wanted. And what about the little red ball? It deserves its own spot in the Hollywood Memorabilia Museum. It's a symbol of standing up for your right to have a little fun, even when someone is trying to bring you down. It's a testament to the power of petty, but ultimately harmless, revenge. It represents the idea that sometimes the silliest solutions are the most effective. This whole episode just adds another layer to her public persona. We see her on the red carpet looking glamorous, and we see her in movies playing these incredibly intense roles. But stories like this remind us that behind all of that, she's a real person who deals with real-life annoyances, just like the rest of us. The only difference is, her way of dealing with them is infinitely more entertaining. It's the kind of story you'd tell your friends over dinner, and that's exactly what she did. But her dinner table was a TV studio with millions of people watching. She has this incredible ability to turn a mundane frustration into a captivating narrative. She's a natural-born storyteller, whether she's on screen or just recounting a silly feud with her neighbor. So, the next time you have a neighbor who complains about every little thing, maybe don't call the authorities or get into a shouting match. Just think of Jennifer Lawrence. Maybe find your own version of the little red Pilates ball. Find a way to bring some humor and lightheartedness into the situation, because at the end of the day, a good laugh is a far better victory than a bitter argument. Jen's story is a perfect reminder to not sweat the small stuff and to face life's little annoyances with a sense of humor and a touch of mischief. The neighbor who crossed Jennifer Lawrence didn't face some dramatic Hollywood-style showdown. He faced something much worse. He became the punchline to a really, really good story. And honestly, that's a fate I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Or maybe I would if it was this funny. Thanks so much for hanging out and listening to this fantastic Hollywood tale. What do you think? Was Jen's response perfect? Or would you have handled it differently? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to read your own neighbor stories. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next story. We'll see you in the next one.